welcome back here to Into the Abyss. Today we are discussing sci-fi horror, a genre that is always kind of a different one because most cases people think sci-fi is automatically in horror. Not always the case. I mean, sci-fi is just otherworldly, outside science, where you gotta find a way to squeeze a horror in the right, like the movie Alien, of course, being a good example. I was just talking to him about the original Battlestar Galactica, and how I pointed out that the Cylons, when I was a kid, scared the ever-living hell out of me. And it sounds weird, but I think it works, and there were a few ideas that these guys wanted to spin around for him.
I remember when I was young, I was freaked out by Invasion of the Body Snatchers. That one, that one stuck with me.
The movie that freaked me out the most, and I think we shared this on the on our Halloween memories, was when we saw when I saw Saturn V, and that was a sci-fi movie, but had this gigantic robot that had this, like, it was a robot, but it had these like human brains stacked up on top of each other, creating this neural network and those throbbing, pulsing brains. I mean, that was really freakish. So yes, we are talking about sci-fi horror, but I think in particular we're talking about horror that was once on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Yep.
But Chuck, Tom, and I have. Tom's almost done with it. Have viewed one series in particular, and then Chuck has a series that he wants to talk about. So Chuck, why don't you talk about your series first? Because it's one that I haven't watched yet, and I think it's on Shudder now, right?
It is on Shudder.
I have not seen it.
And that series is Channel Zero. The interesting thing about that is the series are based on creepypastas. So someone took the ideas from creepypastas and developed it into series.
So now we're going to talk about that later. Now
yeah, that's why I told you it would be a good segue. You'll see more. Yeah, watch the other video. But the idea with it is that they take some of these ideas on the creepypastas, they've developed it. I mean, it's a full series. It's not just like one scare, but they develop into a full narrative, full backstory for the characters and stuff like that. I've only seen season 1. But I've enjoyed it enough that I do want to go back and watch the other seasons that are there. You may be seeing the one monster covered in teeth on Shudder. That's taken from Channel Zero. And the first season it takes place, there's a old kids show that they recognize with pirates, or like puppet pirates that are there. All the kids can remember it, but the adults never saw it. But it freaked the kids out and it stuck with them. And when the series came on, some kids ended up disappearing and then being found dead. And there's a connection there to the series. It goes away. The one brother skips town and comes back because it starts up again. The series comes back again, and the new generation of children are noticing the show. Great setup that's there. They throw a lot of ingredients into the blender. I will say, just kind of giving my rating on it, I think they maybe throw a little too many ingredients because the focus wanders a bit. I feel like there's a lot of ingredients that maybe didn't come together as cohesively as they could have. But that said, I highly recommend it. Check it out. I mean, at least give the first season a try because it was really well done. I mean, it's just from a storytelling perspective, I just felt like, yeah, there's this creepy thing here. But it wasn't as incorporated, it didn't feel as tight and cohesive as maybe like a movie is.
Okay.
We'll come back to that. I do have some thoughts, and it may have something to do with just being a series in general. But it does segue into Nightflyer, and that's why I'll hold off on discussing what might be going on.
So Nightflyer is a series that ran on Sci-Fi Channel. It's actually based on a novella by George R.R. Martin. And Nightflyer, it's been a little while since I've watched it, but Nightflyer is a series about how the Nightflyer it's the ship they're all on, right?
Yes.
And where are they going now again? I can't remember.
They are looking for the Volcran.
That's right. They want to make contact with alien life form and
life is bad on Earth. They're hoping aliens can help us out.
Exactly.
Classic
Terrible
setup.
pandemic killing everyone. Wow, this sounds great.
Yeah. So it's a really great series. I think it perfectly straddles that line between horror and science fiction because obviously we have the science fiction if they're in space and they're going to meet aliens, but there's a lot there that's very visceral. We've got subplots with two characters that are psychic. And how that's kind of horrific, being able to touch other people's minds.
One's got a Cockney accent. That's just petrifying.
It's a really, really good series that I really, really enjoyed. There's a couple elements of body horror in there at one point. Unfortunately, it was canceled after the first season, so we're left a little bit unresolved at the end of the
Yep.
series. So, Tom, I don't know if you want to. I know you haven't
Well,
finished.
yeah, I got most of it done. I think I have 7 episodes down, 3 to go.
Mhm.
And, I mean, I love the idea. It's essentially haunted house in space, I think. And what really makes that scary is you're at the whim of this ship that could kill you at any moment, to be honest. And then they were throwing in some other elements. Now, one thing I'm having an issue with is I kind of feel like I got dropped in media res. Essentially, there's things that are ongoing they haven't told us about or really understand. But so far, I am kind of enjoying it. The first couple episodes took me a while to get into it, and now they're in deep space for 8 months. They're starting to kind of split apart at the seams, and there's just a lot going on. But I think it's gonna work.
I will say, I run into issues with this one in horror series in general, and so I kind of noticed a tendency with these. Actually, before I mention this, I will say I do recommend it. It's a good series. If you like science fiction and horror, check it out. It's very well done. It's one of the better, sci-fi horror series I've ever seen. That said, series tend to stretch out a bit, and I think it gets into the idea of why are sequels difficult to pull off in horror. You get familiar with things, and then it starts to lose that fear factor. Things kind of get overused. As much as I like the Haunting series on Netflix, Haunting of like Bly Manor and Haunting of Hill House, I've seen it there. Um, there was the cuts where the guy with the light up glasses, and I would laugh because that's actually it's actually an anime trope. The nerdy guy who pushes up the glasses and they light up or something like that. So I always saw that whenever I saw the light up glasses. But you start to see that same recurring jump scare, and it wears off. You're like, all right, how many times are we going to do this?
Right.
I did see it with Channel Zero. Channel Zero that gets a lot into the headspace of the characters. There's a lot of scenes where it cuts out and it's actually a dream or it's just a vision, and then it cuts back. That's fine a couple times, but in a series which runs a while, it starts to wear, and you're like, you can only do this so many times, guys.
Right.
I do see a little bit of that as well with Nightflyers. They beat a dead horse when it comes to some elements of it, because you're going back to the same themes, the same character issues again and again. It's not enough to push me off from the series, but I'm just kind of curious how in a movie I think it would be a much tighter script. You wouldn't get that effect. But I've also been I've watched other horror series, and I noticed a lot there, and I think it just has to do with series in general. It stretches the horror out.
Right.
So it was kind of interesting thought. I'm kind of still pondering that. But again, I still recommend Nightflyers. I will say, Tom, sorry, I didn't care for the ending. I think it kind of unravels a bit at the ending.
I have to finish it. It's just you don't read a book and then there's 2 pages left saying I'm done.
Yeah.
I will finish it though.
Yeah. No, do finish it. I we can chat later on that, but it kind of unravels at the end. I was not happy with that, and I don't know if they were doing it because they thought they would have a season 2, but
that's what it felt like to me. Is it?
Yep.
This was an ending that was not thinking that they were going to get canceled.
Yeah, but I would say, regardless whether they thought there was going to be a season 2 or not, I still don't like what they did with the ending. I think the show does wander a bit, and I don't know how much of this is from the book by George R. R. Martin, but it reminds me. It does remind me of how the Game of Thrones book series kind of wanders a bit. So it kind of, again, it throws maybe too many ingredients into the pot, goes for maybe a few too many episodes, and kind of wanders and jumps around them. And some of the elements are like, hey, here's a scary idea, and here's this other scary idea, and here's this other scary idea. Let's just make them work together. And sometimes they just don't come together as well as they could. So I do see a little bit out Nightflyers and Channel Zero. But again, I can't repeat it enough. Still watch them. They're still good. There's a lot of great meat in both shows.
And Nightflyer is on Netflix, and Channel Zero is on Shudder.
On Shudder.